Content warning. The following show contains smoking, potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and a few other things that might make some people feel uncomfortable, but I promise you are not being attacked. Either way, viewer and listener discretion is advised. Okay, you're being fun, so let's just get to this, because you're late. I know I'm late, all right? God, I'm trying to do a whole bunch of stuff all at once. All right, yeah, no, I get it. Let's just start the music. Hey everybody, what is going on? How you feeling? What is the word today? I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower, and welcome to the dark side of the room, where we talk about games, life, love, family, friends. Okay, yeah, we just talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, but mainly we are nerds, all right? We are nerds that are coming together and hanging out and talking about some really cool stuff. So, pull up a chair, get yourself some snacks, maybe pull out a cup of coffee, something like that, and strap in for the show. We've got a big one today, because tomorrow I've been called out to work and all of that other stuff. So, we're going to be running a little long today, and isn't that fun? So while we're here and we're talking about all that stuff, I totally forgot that I have to do a thing. So now that we got all that, okay, I'm glad that we are here, and I'm glad that we are doing all of that jazz. And if you guys want to get a hold of me and talk about some stuff that we're all on, or give me some show suggestions and stuff like that, we have a lot of things that we can do. First off, you can pull up your keyboard and type in back in the deck at gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also hit me up over on the social medias like the Twitter and the Instagram, also at Back in the Deck. Check us out on TikTok at BidP, and that is BIDPY. And if you're part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy, check us out on Facebook, on the Deckers on the Book. That is our public group where everyone has access to. Also, we have got so many different ways for you guys to get a hold of us, but if y'all find value in what we talk about, what we're doing, help keep the community open and going by doing all the YouTube things if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you like this podcast, visual art, this set of performances, well, we're on quite a few platforms. We've been putting the audio of this stuff up on SoundCloud for a little while, and I'm touching on that. I'm working on getting us on Spotify, and of course, we have a Patreon. So if you guys are down for helping to keep the channel alive and keeping me from sitting on the edge of my seat while waiting for a call back from Starbucks, we've got our donations and our Patreon and our merch store, where you can pick up our t-shirts, our coffee mugs, or notebooks, or stickers. Every little bit helps, keeps us open and all that stuff. And hopefully, if we get to a point where I make enough, I'll be able to hire an editor and get a lot of these things onto YouTube a lot faster, a lot more often. Our archive is deep, yo, deep. And of course, thank you out there to Neon Arlecchino for putting up the Discord invite. We have a Discord and it is free. You don't have to join the Patreon for any of that stuff. So there we go. You can also check out our SoundCloud. I believe it's at soundcloud.com/BID_P. And we've got lots of stuff there. And I mean, so many podcasts from our years and years and years and years of doing that, including the early stuff with some of our former co-hosts and things like that. Let me pull up a little bit of an image here. See, check it out. We got all this stuff. This is our episode from yesterday, y'all. Isn't that fun? But yeah, so again, we have so much stuff. We've got years of content there, and we're going to start having more and more. So much to talk about. We going to be here for a little while. Oh, man, I'm looking at the SoundCloud right now, and I'm seeing so many different things. And I'm not going to lie. I'm really not going to lie. This is so much info. So many of our old shows like Game Gallery and Buster Recap and Table Talk. Man, there's just so much good stuff there. And a lot of bad stuff. Whole lot of bad stuff. So that is some stuff. So let's see who's here that I got to say what's up to. What's up? Some of our new people out there. Some of our old ones. I see you, Neon. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, this is just some good stuff. So I'm an old man and I'm still working out tech and all that stuff. I'm getting the stuff on Spotify so we can like do the distribution and all that stuff, because I want our message out. I want the community to grow, and I got to do my part if I'm going to ask you guys to do your part to share and all that stuff. So what are we talking about today? Well, today we're talking risk aversion in games and externalizing sportsmanships. That's right, you're getting a 2-for-1, so strap in on this one. Let me tell you, I feel like I'm one of my aunts. I'm like, girl, let me tell you, risk aversion in games. What does that mean? Well, I know some of y'all are here for Warcraft or for Warhammer 40K. Some of you guys are here for tabletop role-playing games. Some of you guys play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and other card flip games. But the concept goes all the way across the board, y'all. A lot of the times when it comes to games where we have any... That's right, I've got spray paint here because, yeah, I'll be having another painting tutorial sometime soon. I promise you guys on that one. A lot of the times when we're creating our parts in the games, when we're making characters, building battle groups, building armies, all right, there is a huge temptation to create our armies, our teams, our characters in ways to make sure that we win every time we play, okay? There is a huge temptation to do that. And I'm going to be frank with y'all up front. That is a dangerous temptation because it can suck the joy and fun out of any activity you engage in. But we're talking about games, all right? Leave a comment or an emoji if I'm describing an experience that you've had. Okay, you get into a game and you start building your army or building your deck. And one, you're kind of paralyzed over all the different options, but you wrap your head around the game mechanics and how all that works. And then you have a moment where you put together what seems to be the perfect team or the perfect deck, where you've got the right amount of offense. And as you're putting stuff together, you're like, oh my God, yeah, I can get in here, I'll get in there, and then this card will do this, or this mini will do this, and that'll be followed by that, and I got this combo, and I got that combo up, and all that stuff. But then you see one or two game mechanics that will stop you from your ingenious plan. And so you have to rework your deck to make sure that it never, ever, ever happens to you. Like if you're a Magic the Gathering player and you play against someone who's playing like a grind deck, you know, and they just start making you discard cards left, right, and sideways. And you try and put together a deck where that can never, ever, ever happen again because no, I lost by not being able to draw. Or you end up playing, say, Warhammer 40K, you got your Necrons out there, and you're like, all right, so if 3 of my guys are taken down, I can do some regeneration shenanigans and get my stuff back. And then you end up fighting orcs where the green tide just comes along, knocks a good amount of your stuff off the table, and all the weapons have rending, and now your regeneration means nothing, right? And once this type of thing happens, you really, really, really want to make sure that it never happens again. Okay, this idea is called risk aversion. All right, the fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And back in my day when I was a younger gamer, we called this teching. We would build our teams and stuff going, all right, if I'm going to play against Travis, I'm going to bring this army to shut down his thing. And it just becomes this weird race to stop every person who's playing their deck from winning by playing their deck or taking away the one mechanic that they have that their deck is built around. Okay. And what I've seen over my decades of playing is that this mindset, this idea of risk aversion, sucks fun. And I'm talking enjoyment, i.e., the infusing of joy into your activity. It just sucks it all away, like Maynard is singing and Tool is backing him behind. Just flush it all away type of thing. And why is this? It's because we've stopped playing the game and we've started turning the players into puzzles. Okay? We're no longer playing 40K. We're no longer playing Magic. We're no longer playing D&D. We are in competition with the DM, not in the realm of game play, but in the realm of who is smarter. Okay? And this can suck the joy out of stuff, and I've seen it time and time again. Make people quit games. All right? And if you guys are here for Warhammer 40K, I know you guys have gone through this because I will say cute little things like 5th edition, 6th edition, 8th editions, and a lot of 9th editions. You know, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? You know? So what can we do to get around these things? Because it happened to me. It happened to me for a long time in a lot of arenas as well. And how could I get past it? How do we deal with that temptation to avert risk? Okay. Now, I will say this. I know a lot of people. There are a lot of people in my life, and there have been a lot of people in my life who look at any concept of risk as anathema to anything they want to do. The moment there's a chance of failure, it's, nope, I'm doing what I'm comfortable with. You know, and I'm talking all walks of life, every race, every creed, every religion. I have at least 3 people in my life that just don't want to risk anything. Let's see, we got Xanathades. It depends on a lot of situations when you're regularly playing against the same small group of players or any number who play a limited variety of decks, armies, or builds. True. It does depend on time and circumstance, okay? But remember, on this show, we talk about grand concepts and principles. Now, I have this thing inside me, and it's a thing that I'm really, really concerned about. Okay, what is that thing, Solar? I don't know what you are talking about, you may say. And I will tell you what that thing is. All right? I have grown up watching so many people take their lives from huge to tiny over the course of my life. And when they take their lives to the tiny place, they are never, ever, ever happy or satisfied with what their lives have become. Okay? And that's when I see people give up all of their hobbies and spend their time rotting away in front of a television, not happy, not even content, but not risking. Okay? They've given into fear and their lives have just closed up. And let's be real, y'all. These games ain't exactly cheap. Now, this show is intended to be a guide for a lot of people to make the games much less expensive, okay? But they're not exactly cheap, all right? So, for those of us that have already spent our money on these things, be it you used to play a game 10, 20 years ago and you still got the figures of the cards and stuff like that, or you've got a shelf full of books from old gaming systems, and every person you talk to tries to make the maximum efficient thing. You know, either I want to make the optimum game build or the optimum team or blah, 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 you know, what we can call meta chasers. The question is, how do we navigate that without falling into the same trap? Well, get a pencil and a paper, all right? Number one, the number one thing when it comes to risk psychologically is what we used to call lizard brain. We're afraid that if we lose, we will die. You know, we have a bit of ego death as it is. A lot of people think if they lose a game, they're not smart or they're not talented or anything like that. Well, here's the thing. Something's got to lose in every single game. And losing or winning has very little bearing on who you are. Okay? Your ideals plus your behaviors in the face of things have a much larger bearing on an indication of who you are, or who you're choosing to be in those moments. All right? So I get it. Nobody wants to lose at a game. I 100% understand, guys. I really, really, really do. You know, I get it. I have lost so many games in so many things that I have done. Okay? So many games, so much time, just you name it, I have lost it. Okay? So what do we do to avoid those types of things? Right? How do we avoid loss? How do we minimize our risk? Okay? And I want to put this out there. The principle of risk aversion is not the same as risk minimalization. Neon is out there going, get good? What does that mean? What does that consist of? All right. Now, one of the ways that I have the most fun at every single game that I play, all right, is it's a big thing. Okay, it's a really, really big thing. And that big thing is this. When I put together a team or a deck or a character, there are two different ways that I can do that. I can put the things together with a sense of balance, so I'm prepared for a decent amount of complications. Okay? Or I can hyper specialize and hope that those things don't come up. Let's see. Well, I just realized you use your feel like phrase from the other day. For me, that's less means of shutting down an argument as it is an acknowledgement that this is my opinion. True. And I feel. We talked about that the other day. Um, so what was I saying? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, so that's what I needed. Been looking for this all over the place. Um, okay, got all that. Cool. Um, so when it comes to doing these things, coffee. No. What was I on about before I got distracted by so many things? God, curse my ADD. When I put together a team, I like to have something for different answers. Okay. One of the reasons that I think I make a decent person to play against is one, don't really mind losing. What's going on, Gaming Fix? And when I put my stuff together, I tend to put down teams that are like, okay, they're gonna have a heavy weapons thing. So what do I have that can absorb stuff? Okay, I have a methodology. Like if I'm playing a game that has object control, if we're seizing objectives, then I put together a team to do that and hope that I live through what they have to give. And if someone has put together a team that I just can't get through, I'm like, okay, well, I just got my butt kicked. And really that's the literal part of what I do. Like literally, that's just what I do there. Because sometimes, yeah, I get outplayed. I say sometimes, I mean most of the time, because I'm not great at the games that I play. I'm intermediate in practically everything I do. And I'm cool with that. Except for podcasting, because I suck at this. But I'm always trying to get a little better. So when it comes to the risk aversion, the number one thing that I try and keep with me is a simple idea. Okay? And that idea that I keep with me is that I'm not going to win or dominate every single time. If I did, it wouldn't be a game. All right? Most things. Now, let's dive in to a little bit of game design. Okay? Just a tiny bit. No. Come back. This is important. Okay? Every single game that you ever play has some sort of randomization element. Okay? I don't care if you're playing Uno, poker, craps, roulette, Warhammer 40K, Dead Zone, Monopoly, Life, Diplomacy, Game of Thrones. There is something in it that provides a random element. Okay? Let's take Uno. Death to Uno! Yeah, I was literally about to bring up Uno. Okay, Uno is one of the simplest card games that there is that you don't play with a standard deck. You got your numbers, you got your colors, right? What's the random element, though? I mean, you got your numbers and you got your colors. The answer is the shuffle and the draw. You don't know what next cards are coming. So there is a random element that's there. There is some sort of unknown that you have to work with. Some sort of weird thing that comes up. Excuse me. And within that weird thing that comes up, you're going to have to make readjustments. Now, the best players of any game have an innate understanding of all of those random elements. And if those random elements pose a question, they'll have an answer for it. I just don't know all of the particular things because I like being the new guy, so I learn a lot of different games. All right? So, they come up with a lot of different ways in every single community to address these random elements. Okay. Um, the place I've seen this the most and the most often is in the Warhammer 40K community. Now, it's weird. Y'all are some snarky people, man. Seriously snarky people. Never before have I seen everything involving the game, everything involving the activity be used as an insult. Oh my God, they're playing Hero Hammer. Oh, they're playing Math Hammer. Oh, they're playing this hammer. I'm like, I thought it was all Warhammer. I don't know. Maybe I'm just new. Because I am just new. I mean, that really is. And so when it comes down to those things, how do you deal? How do you get through them? Okay. The fact is, every single playstyle will have a way of addressing these randomization questions. All right. Now, some people, the minority of most game players, really enjoy the statistical analysis and mathematics of these games. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Turns out I have a friend who later on informed me that he was like on the ground floor of working with the designers of Magic the Gathering, and they are all mathematicians. And I'm like, oh wow, you know, you say you're a mathematician, I say you're a mathemagician, because your magic math is just like way above my head. And there are calculations and stuff like that. But the most common way that people use to avert risk is something called meta chasing. Okay? What they do is they take a look at what is winning on the competitive scene and they try and recreate that. All right? And it's fascinating to me because I know that every champion that's out there, the ones that are really winning, they're not meta chasing. They are, for lack of a better phrase, math hammering the idea that they want to play. Okay. Way back in the 90s, when I first learned about meta chasing, it was after what older Magic players would call Black Summer. And that was the summer where Black was dominating in all the tournaments all the way up to the World Championship. So people would go online, look up the deck that was dominating, and construct it out of either their collection, or they would go online trying to buy those cards specifically. But that was a big thing that they were doing. Okay? And I found it fascinating. I really did. Because I know that every single one of our hobbies, these games that we play, be it tabletop role-playing, card flipping, miniatures, board games, there's more to it than just the initial thing. You know, part of the miniature playing hobbies is putting together and painting your miniatures. You know, there is the hobby aspect of miniature wargaming. There is the deck building part of Magic the Gathering or collectible card games. There is the character building and world building of tabletop role-playing games, you know? Hang on. Let's see. Warhammer players and D&D players are natural enemies, like Warhammer players and Magic the Gathering players, or Warhammer players and other Warhammer players. Damned Warhammer players, they ruined Warhammer. It's a thing. However, the idea, and you guys can see this all over YouTube, how to make the most efficient fighter, how to make the most efficient this idea of efficiency comes from a place of risk aversion within play. But what are people really trying to avoid? What is the risk? Because let's be real, it's not like we'll lose more money by losing. We've already bought the stuff. And the answer to that is something called feel bad moments. Okay, the feel bad moments. You know, every player that you talk to, I don't care how long you've been playing the game that you're playing, or talking to the people that you've been talking to, every single one of them will talk about Well, all of them will say, I don't mind losing. I just don't want to get trounced. And what I've noticed, and this is not me throwing shade, is that for every player that says something like that, there is a different threshold for being trounced, okay? And we talked about the three types of players, the Timmy, the Jimmy, and the Spike. However, most players aren't truly aware of why they play the games they play and what they're looking to win. But with the idea of risk aversion, they are trying to avoid feeling bad when the games don't go the way that they want them to. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this, okay? There is the idea of competition. Especially if you grew up in Western civilization. You have to win, Andrew. Win. You have to win. You have to get that scholarship. You have to win. Second place is first loser. You know, a lot of people have that in their head. A lot of people have the idea of, if I lose a game, I'm not intelligent. If I don't dominate, then I am nothing. I see it all over the place, okay? And that idea of not coming out on top equals that I may not exist is a huge, 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 scary thing for gamers in my area, specifically Southern California. Feel free to at me at backinthedeck@gmail.com. I would love to see otherwise, okay? But here's the really big thing. In order to really, really get a handle on risk aversion in your games and in a lot of the things that you engage in that aren't games, is to take some time to be mindful of yourself when it comes to what you're playing for, okay? What are the things that make you feel good when you feel good? What are the things that make you feel bad? And how can you craft your experience to go toward the thing that makes you feel good? And how can you get a handle on that which actually makes you feel bad? Now, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's easy. I feel bad when I lose. No, there's always something deeper than that, y'all. Y'all know this, okay? And there's nothing wrong with admitting those kinds of things to yourself, all right? I'll start. When I was young, I'm Generation X, also known as feral children. And when I was growing up, it didn't matter what game or what sport, the loser got clowned. All right. When I was a kid and we would play a game called kickball, which was baseball, but you played it with a soccer ball and you kicked the soccer ball because we didn't have grass on our PE fields. It was all blacktop all the time. But every time the game ended, the winners would be like, we won, we shot the BB gun, y'all lost, y'all ate the applesauce. You know, essentially saying, if you are not as good as us at this game, you are a baby. You were infantilized, you were made lesser than, okay? And in a lot of places, a lot of mindsets, your skill at the thing that a lot of people like, eating applesauce sounds better than shooting a BB gun. For some, it does, Neon. I will say eating applesauce is a much better experience than eating BBs from a BB gun. But you know, for Christmas, I still want the red rocket with the pump action air compression and the scope. But I'll probably shoot my eye out. Where was I before you gave your cute little, clever thing? In a lot of places, the idea of a person is bad at something that I saw, therefore, they must be bad at everything else. And this is a logical fallacy. Okay. It's like, yeah, I can't trust that accountant, or, I can't trust that accountant because he can't run a winning touchdown. And it's like, hold up. These two things, these apples and oranges, yeah, but they're both fruit. And a lot of us have those scars from growing up. The idea that if we're not the best, we don't matter. The idea that any loss ruins our perfect record, and perfection is the only thing that matters in the world. And I get it. I totally get it. I understand where it comes from. I too grew up in a capitalist dystopia. However, we're talking about games and our hobbies, okay? And I will tell you that these things are absolute fallacies, okay? Enjoyment and fulfillment doesn't come from constantly winning. It comes from the accomplishments that we see within ourselves, okay? One of the biggest things that I found gives these feelings is growth, improvement, As a lot of you guys know, I am 6'4" tall, okay? And the fact of the matter is, when I was growing up, I did not feel, okay, there was one particular summer that I felt myself growing, and that was a painful summer, okay? Long story short, I ended up growing like 6 inches in 3 months back in 1990. It was crap, okay? But most of the time, we don't see ourselves progress, all right? We really don't. We don't see the distance that we travel with every step, especially when we have our eyes on the destination, okay? However, there are moments that we do. The moments where we have aha moments. I've seen this as a teacher 100 times. When a student thinks that something is difficult and beyond them, and then when they get it, they feel great. That whole thing of, that wasn't so hard, that moment of growth that we see at point of purchase is exhilarating and joyful and all of those things. So in order to avoid risk, one of the things that I do, yes, that aha feeling, that aha moment. So one of the things that I do, and I guess it's kind of an addiction, is I look for those aha moments. I do my best to learn, and then when I get something, I'm like, woo, that feels great. I still have a brain that functions because I've done a lot of things over the course of my life to kill many, many brain cells. But we also get those moments from sharing and family moments and all of that stuff. So, there's a lot more to it, but I can tell you this. I've seen many, many games, many competitive games, where one side just dominates. And the only people that I see regularly enjoy that level of domination comes from the smaller kid finally getting his licks in, you know what I mean, or the players that scare off the maidens, just the bad sports. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about. The ones who practice for next week's semifinals by playing a bunch of brand new players so that they feel good about themselves. The ones that I don't welcome here in the podcast or in the community. All right? But most of the stuff that we play, the exhilaration that comes, when does it come? All right, let's really take a look at that. All right, because this is directly tied in with risk aversion. Okay, I think back to my Shakespeare. If we're marked to die, we do ere now to do our country loss. but to win. The fewer men, the greater share of honor. Okay? What does that mean? That means if we gonna lose, we gonna lose. But if we win with a smaller force, just think about that. If we beat the bully, bruh, how much taller we gonna be standing? All right? Seriously. And when do we have those moments? We have those moments at the table where we're pulling that last gambit. Where if you play Warhammer 40K and you're going against that let's say there's a tank that has a melta that's just bearing down on your infantry, and then your infantry does the last ditch volley because that tank only has 2 hit points left. It's been bracketed, and it really comes down to, if I can take that tank, I can rush that objective, and I might be able to win the game. And your heart increases. Your dopamine is flowing every time you roll the dice, and that is your few, your happy few, your band of brothers. And then what happens when you get those 5 6s that you need? When you were fighting the big bad evil guy after 6 weeks of freaking dungeon delving and D&D, and you hit and you roll for that damage, and you've used your smite, you did the 2-handed throw, and you're rolling your damage, and you need that nat 20 with that max damage, and you roll it because this is the last thing that you can do. If you don't do this right now, you are dead. And you roll that die. The result of those dice are not what's important right now, okay? But that exhilaration that you just felt by me describing that, when you were down to your last draw and you've got 5 pieces of mana left and you have to draw that planeswalker to get them on the board. And you draw that card and your hands are tingling and you hear, I believe in the heart of the cards. He believes in the heart of the cards. You hear all that stuff in your head. That place before the result, that is the exhilaration and place where a lot of fun is born. Okay? I mean, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of went up, yeah, all right. That's why I'm doing it. Bring on them orcs, And then the blue opponent casts Dispel. It's true. It's true. But still, at that moment where you play that black deck and you've done that thing and you get to pull a random card from your opponent's hand and they're playing blue and they're out of mana, but you've got this plan and you go for that card and you're like, oh, I believe in the heart of the cards and I need to pull that Dispel out of their hand. Those moments, happen a lot more often than you might think when you play games. But if you're focused so hard on risk aversion, you take away all of those moments. And I'll tell you how. Because everything becomes a matter of a recipe. You're not surprised and you're not appreciative. All right, what does that mean? You're going to win. You know that you're absolutely going to win. You know what cards are coming next. You know that all you need is a 2-up to wipe out their entire thing. So here you go. There's my 2-up. There's my advancement. Way back in my day of playing BattleTech, when I was taken out of a pilot position and put in the role of a gunner position, I built an Atlas mech, 100-ton mech. Had a bunch of heat sinks in its feet. And I put a bunch of medium pulse lasers, a bunch of long range missiles, and my gunnery skill was so high that I could barely not miss. And you know what? I was bored. So bored because I got to see the rest of my lance. They were going out and moving themselves into position and getting into close combat. And what could I do? I could stand in a lake and push the alpha strike button. That was my whole turn. I push the button, I shoot everything, I take that guy out. It was really a point and delete mech. And I had absolutely no fun with it. There was no strategizing. There was no tactical stuff. It was push the button, do the thing. Crack the egg and done. Crack the egg and put the egg in there. No salt, no pepper, no spices. It went from, am I going to make a souffle? Am I going to make a chavaillon? No, I'm going to make a hard-boiled egg. I take the egg, I put it in the water, I wait. Egg, yay. No flavor, no nothing, not even devil in that egg. Just, there's the egg. I put the egg in the water does the hot, then the egg does the cook, and we're done. And was it fun? Not at all. I did not enjoy myself. No, granted, I learned at that time that the person that was walking us through it really didn't want me there, but that's okay. Hey, Static Cat, what's going on? So yeah, now, granted, I didn't really know how to play that well, but they didn't want me there, and they didn't really want me to learn. They just did what they could to assuage the person that they were trying to hook up with. But the fact of the matter is that without risk, there's no reward, nor is there enjoyment. Okay? One of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone was about a dude who died, and he woke up in a hotel room with his guide named Pip, and everything he wanted, he got. Everything. He wanted girls, boom, girls showed up. He wanted to play pool, all he had to do was break, and all the pool balls fell into the holes. Every time he hit a slot, it hit the jackpot. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over, And he's like, I'm getting really bored and stuff, and I don't think this place is I don't think heaven is my thing. Maybe I should try the other place. And the dude is like, what makes you think this is heaven? This is the other place. And what did that teach me? That taught me that getting everything you want all the time with no work, no struggle, no risk, that is not fulfilling. Why do people call me drunk? Like, seriously speaking, that there's no risk, there's no flavor there. Your heart doesn't beat really hard when you've got 20 Tyranids bearing down on one Space Marine and you only need 2s to damage. Your heart doesn't skip a beat when you're holding a fireball and you've got all of your lands untapped. And your turn's about to come up and your opponent has 1 hit point left. Seriously, it doesn't, you've got 20 points of direct damage just waiting, and they've got 1 point left. Most of the time, what do you see when this happens? Somebody says good game, and then y'all reshuffle and start over. What I have seen a lot in the Warhammer community is people calculate what the next 3 turns could be like at their best and see that there's no winning. And then you scoop your stuff and you play another game. either a different game or another game of 40K. You know what I mean? Um, at least that's how I think, but I play mainly skirmish games and not army games. Um, and some people will fight it out to the bitter end because I never give up, you know. But at that point, um, they're fighting for the against all odds, but the person, but that against all odds is another way of saying I'm risking everything. You know, that's when they have their Henry V moment going, we few, we happy few, we band of battle brothers, we two remaining Grey Knights, we singular custodies, you know, we last mermaid in my deck, but I have a bunch of stuff that might be able to create mermaids if only I can get past this next direct damage thing. I know that seems specific, and yes, I'm talking about a previous game. You know, all I need to draw is my coat of arms, and we got this, you know? But again, that risk aversion that people go through comes from a place of fear. You know, when I was young and I was sucked into a lot of multi-level marketing things, one of the things that the billionaire that ran one of the multi-level marketing things that I was in actually said something that stuck with me. Because it's like, yeah, a lot of people will be like, yeah, well, if you take that risk, what if you fail? And he's like, what if I don't? You know? And I realize using an MLM as an example is a bad example. However, I promise you that that conversation was had by Brad Pitt and Matthew McConaughey and Stockard Channing and freaking Dr. Dre and Jay-Z. You know, I can tell you most successful people have folks in their lives that don't want them to take the risk. However, only in risk can you get real reward. Okay? Now, I know that what I'm saying sounds like a contradiction. All right? Of course. Yeah, try and create something that can answer every problem, can answer all of these things. But how do you do that without averting risk? Well, here's the thing. When I put together my teams, okay? When I put together my teams for, say, one-page rules, or Grimdark Future, or Warhammer 40K, or Carnivale, or Dead Zone, I give everyone that's there, every piece in there, thank you. You know, the Sandman comic too. You're standing on the edge of the cliff. What if you fall? What if I fly? You know? What I do is I assess, and there's a difference between assessing risk and averting risk. Okay? And let me explain to you the difference. Averting risk tends to manifest itself in ways that say, don't try unless you are absolutely sure that you are going to win. Only go for the sure thing. Get a job at the post office. You know, find your way to civil service, because once you're there, they never fire anybody and you are set for the rest of your life. All right? I know you want to be an architect, but there's work at the post office. So go to the post office. Become a garbage man. Get a job in construction. Yeah, you'll spend the last 20 years of your life in agonizing pain, sucking down ibuprofen if you're trying to avoid anything that ends in INE, but that's safe, you know, in opposed to become an architect and maybe you'll design that one building that will make it so that you live for the rest of your life, you know, you live comfortably for the rest of your life, you know. Assessing the risks, like I said, let's take my miniatures teams, because I do a lot of that. I tend to stick with theme teams when I play hero clicks. Why is that? Because when that game became well designed, your theme teams could always have the potential to have an answer for every question that's put there. Not gonna lie, I love the Justice League. Okay, the JLA is my favorite super team. My favorite superhero is the Martian Manhunter, who is in all but one iteration of the Justice League. I am a Justice League dude. I am all the way out there. Okay, all the way out there. Okay. However, who do you got on the Justice League? Well, if you're playing a big game of Hero Clicks and you can take the Magnificent Seven, then you've got Superman, your tool that can do practically anything you need at any particular time. You got Batman in the shadows, incapacitating people and turning off their superpower. You got the Flash that's able to carry people out of harm's way in case harm gets in the way. You've got Wonder Woman, who's a beat stick, and you can do a whole lot with that beat stick. You've got the Green Lantern, who's the long range dude that can do all the shooting all the time, you know? And then you got the Martian Manhunter, who is just as versatile as Superman, just his numbers aren't as high, but you get what I'm saying. So you've got a character that can do just about anything for any situation, okay? You got people with knockback. So it's like, oh my God, their big heavy guy is coming. Well, you know what? We're just going to knock him out of combat. And Aquaman, who is surprisingly versatile and can do a whole lot of stuff. Also a beat stick. So you got a bunch of characters that can be used for any specific thing that pops up. You've got somebody that's there to handle that situation. And you also have them to do the basic stuff. So how do you go through risk assessment? Well, if you're playing a game that's about objective control, you need something that'll be able to hold an objective. You need, say, a tar pit unit. You know, that's something to say, hey, that's a really big, scary thing. You know what? We're just going to throw that thing at it so it can't do anything to anyone else. Okay, a sacrificial unit. You could use a fast unit to get to objectives really quick, get you some points, and then get the crap out of there to get them to another place and make them really hard to hit. And of course, you've got a threat that they can't ignore. You know, you've got something that can be used as a distraction, something that they have to concentrate their forces on, because if they just leave it alone, you're going to win. But if they tie it up, you'll be able to do a lot of other stuff, you know? Now, I myself am very good at swarm type armies. I love unleashing the stampede. I really do. You know, I love me a bunch of tar pit units, you know, but I also love the great big thing that's out there. You know, so I'm fully Timmy. I really am. I like having the giant robot, but I also like having balance. Okay. But when I do that, I have to assess the risk. They're going to bring out something to kill a swarm. Well, will they bring out something to kill two? You know, while that swarm is being killed, what's the other one doing? I don't know, you know. If I get them to focus on the swarm, maybe my fast guys can go and get those objectives and steal the thing and get it back to my side. You know what I mean? It's a lot of football in there. You know, can they win? Probably. Will they win? Yeah, dice tell stories, as they would say on Play on Tabletop. But that right there, all of those things that can come down, that is where the game is. You know, and that's just my side. What are they doing? Are they playing to counter me? Do they have their own strategy? All of these things are what makes up a game. But when everyone is going for absolute risk assessment and risk aversion, are you playing a game? Like, at this point, is it still a game? For some, but my question is it still a game for most? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let's see what the chat has to say. Xanathades is over here saying, one of the reasons I like the Night Lords is that they're deeply cowardly. Don't get into any fights you haven't already won. Probably why I don't play the Night Lords. You know, but again, these are overall gaming principles, okay? A lot of people say, you know, real talk, the most balanced games that there are out there are the oldest ones, Mancala, Go, and chess. All right? Those are the three most balanced game. All right? But this brings me into our next topic. Externalizing sportsmanship, what does that mean? I'll tell you. Are you like me and have played games against people whose entire strategy are loopholes based on things that are hidden in the Libra Obscurum? Okay, you sit down at the gaming table with somebody who's put together this amazing Munchkin character that you literally need to go through 7 D&D books to understand how they did this legally, you know? Have you ever played with someone that used a corner case to just shut down everything you can, and then they say those words? If the game makes it possible, don't get mad at me for doing it. Has that ever happened to you? What is that? I know a lot of you guys are out there saying, bull! And I'll back you on that. That is the definition of externalizing sportsmanship, okay? Capability being confused with intent, okay? There are a lot of people out there that just love breaking games. They love breaking everything. Why? Because they're trying to be clever. They don't care about the experience of the other people. They want to come out and flex their assumed superiority. Yeah, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, that right there is an externalization of sportsmanship, okay? Because it doesn't say in the rules that I have to be pleasant to play with. And I'm going to use the letter of the law to overshadow the spirit of the law so that I can have bigger appendages. Come on, guys. All right? There is a lot of that, especially in the scene of games where people have a winner or a loser. Okay? And that is literally a thing. That is a big thing. That is a thing that has been out there forever, you know? I mean, heck, we make movies about it. Well, it doesn't say anywhere in the rule book that a dog can't play football. You know? And here's the thing. The concept of sportsmanship can really be looked at as an unspoken agreement that we've gotten together to have fun with each other and not at the expense of someone else. Okay? Now, it's one thing to be like, look, it doesn't say in the rules I can't do this when you're accused of cheating. Yes, Airbud was a very good boy. Okay? But the idea of sportsmanship says I'm going to do my best and you do your best. Okay? That's cool. However, sportsmanship is not I'm going to do my best to make sure that you can't. Okay? That is bullying, you know? And yeah, but it's written in Munchkin. It's written in the rules that cheating is allowed, and it also gives rules on what the definition of cheating is. Okay. And that is a serious thing. Okay. That is a serious thing, guys. Um, a lot of people are bad sportsmen. Go ahead at me. I I gamed with very bad sportsmen for the longest time because a lot of bad sportsmen aren't necessarily bad people. Okay. A lot of folks, again, a lot of these bad behaviors, bad tactics, bad stuff. And I say this, yeah, I'm calling it all bad. Their behaviors, their tactics, their habits, okay? They're pushed in American society. I'm going to get a little old man yelling at clouds right now, okay? Because we were taught as children one thing verbally, but we were taught something else in practice, okay? And it was actually said a little earlier in today's show in the chat, all right? But this idea of that's how I was taught, therefore that's how I teach, is not a healthy way to sustain healthy and happy communities. Okay? Now let me put on my teaching hat. I had some amazing teachers, and a lot of those teachers were hard teachers. Okay? What do I mean by hard? They didn't accept any excuses. And they didn't go easy on anyone. They were, let's call them lawful, decent teachers. All right? But I also had a lot of teachers of a lot of things that thought the best way to teach you was to punch you until you learn to block. All right? And that was kind of a big thing for a lot of folks for a long time. However, what do we see in the world today? The biggest thing that I see on the internet and in gaming stores and in gaming circles is, since I had to, they do too. Like this idea that being a good sport, being a decent teacher, diminishes the work that you have put in. Okay? So these bad sportsmen that were taught to win by corner cases and to dominate and to crush every single opponent, even if it's your younger brother, they taught the younger brother to crush opponents and be bad sports just like they were taught. Okay? And here's the thing. As a teacher, I do my best to teach people things in ways not that I would have preferred, but the ways that were effective and the ways that were most needed for me and the people around me that are like the people I was teaching. Some people, when I teach games to, they want to get the crap kicked out of them until they figure out the other way. I don't quite understand it, but hey, if that's the way you learn. However, when I play with new players, I don't bring my A game. I don't bring my way of dominating everything. I don't stay quiet when they make a bad move. I don't just come down on them really, really hard as though they're cheating when they make a mistake. Okay? We have this idea as gamers that the abuse that was passed on to us is now our job to pass it on, or even worse, it's our turn to finally kick the little guy. And the only thing that can stop us are the printed rules on the page. And here's the thing, guys. When it comes to playing games, interacting with people in ways outside of work, last time I checked, We do these things to enjoy ourselves and for other people, the people that we are interacting with, to enjoy. Okay? That is a really big thing. Rolling for initiative exists for a reason in Dungeons and Dragons. You know, most communal things are for a community and not just for one person who tries to bully the rest of the table into being their hands. You know, you guys are here to help me win this game in ways that I can't do it alone. Yeah, no. Because that's not fun for the hands most of the time. Unless the agreement has already been made at the beginning of the game. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay? But when someone interacts with you in a gaming way, the question is, are they doing this so that they can have a fun experience? And are they keeping my fun experience in mind? And for us to be like, am I doing this to have a fun gaming experience? And am I keeping their fun in mind? You know, things aren't the way they were when I grew up. Okay. When I was growing up and where I grew up, people made it very clear what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy. Now people stay silent and they walk away because they're afraid of confrontation because of the 21st century. That's just how people are. So I don't want to hear it from players that are just like, well, they never said anything. Not a fan of field generals in Dungeons and Dragons, right? But simultaneously, the key to compromise and the functioning definitions of compromising is everyone involved moves from where they are and meets closer to the center. Okay? That's just a thing. I know a lot of people who, when I teach them games, they are so determined to prove that they are either smarter than me or they already want to win because they're so competitive that they don't learn the rules to games. And you know what happens? They don't keep playing. They rob themselves of that fun experience. And I can tell you from many jobs I've had, especially when I was a performer, there were so many people that resented me for being good at what I did. And I'm like, I've been getting my butt kicked on stage for decades. And what I'm trying to do right now is give you what I've learned from getting my butt kicked without kicking your butt. And a lot of the times it was, well, who does he think he is? I'm like, someone who's gone farther in this than you have, and I want to bring you along, you know? And when it comes to that kind of ego clash, you're never going to get past it. However, the people who have that sort of ego and try and externalize their sportsmanship by blaming the rules, the field, the way the world is. I will tell you guys something, because y'all know how I get personal at this. The number one reason I ran away from home and joined the circus, do not do that if you're listening to this under 18. It was a lot more trouble than it was worth. Was that my family was hard on me all the time. And they were like, well, we're just doing this because that's the way the world is and you got to learn. And I'm like, Mom, older brother, I'm out in the real world all the time. I get my butt kicked socially and physically by practically everybody I run into at school. And then I come home and I get my butt kicked emotionally and physically at home. If I'm to learn anything, I need somewhere to rest so that the lesson can actually come in. But if I never get a break and all I get is the butt kicking, why should I desire to be around anyone, especially you guys, who are supposed to love me and supposed to be my support network? I'm like, you guys are my family. And if my family treats me as bad or worse than my enemies on the outside, then why should I ever bother coming home? You know? And of course, one of my family members couldn't get through their ego investment. so I left. Okay? And that's the thing. That is the really big thing on that. That ego investment, that externalizing sportsmanship, that is just the way the world is. In a lot of ways, people are right. Okay? Well, that's just the gaming community, and if you don't like that, then then you shouldn't be playing this game. And the answer is, I shouldn't be playing that game with you. Because you're not fun to play with. And that's the thing. I put this topic out here for today because I saw for a long time that the idea of externalizing sportsmanship, of being mean because that's just the way things are, or, I'm a bad sport because that's just how this game is played. It was petty, it was cruel, and it was something I could see straight through. What I saw were a bunch of hurt children playing at being the bad grown-ups that they were raised by. Okay? Xenithades brings up a good question. Why not make the community better? Exactly. If it was hard for you, now that you're the one in power, why are you externalizing sportsmanship instead of internalizing it and making it better for everyone than it was for you? And the answer to that can be seen all over the place. Okay? It really can. Just a preview of our meeting Tuesday night down by the docks. But I bring up debt forgiveness when it comes to this kind of behavior. Okay? The idea of, well, why should they not have to pay back their student loan? I had to pay back mine. That schadenfreude, that crab in a bucket thinking doesn't do good for anybody. No one gets out of debt, and congratulations, you did it. But now that you have the power to help other people, are you actually living up to the you that you think you are when you have the power to help other people and you willfully don't simply because nobody helped me? What I'm about to say is pretty harsh. All right? What I'm about to say is pretty harsh. But one, it's the real opinion and real observation of Back in the Deck Productions, and I'm taking this all the way out. Okay? I am owning this, and I will take the smoke. But if you have the power to make things pleasant for another gamer, or you have the power to make things better for the people coming up behind you and you don't because nobody made it easy for you, grow the hell up. You want the privileges of an adult? Then act like one. Because a child says, "What about me?" And an adult goes, "You know what? I did do it hard, but I'm going to open the door to somebody now that I'm in here." All right? And yeah, I'll take that smoke. Because I grew up in the 1980s. And I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I remember parents and grandparents working themselves to the bone so that their kids could go to college. They took those jobs. They worked at the post office, although they wanted to be professional musicians. They worked at the factory and take antibiotics to ease the pain of their torn up rotator cuff from the freaking construction jobs they had. Or they ended up needing chemo from all the chemicals that they inhaled by being a janitor to make sure their kids were taken care of. Okay? And when their kids had a chance to not be janitors and to not be construction workers, but to be something more, they didn't say, "What about me? I sacrificed my whole life. Why can't I get anything?" Nah, son. But then the 80s came around and the 90s came around, and that's what people started doing. And look at us now. Okay, I'm not saying the world was better in the 80s or 90s, but what I am saying is that people were kinder. Okay, there were more communities to join. There were more places to be welcomed at, and there were fewer people that were scared. All right? Thank you, Gaming Fix. Thank you, Xanathades. So seriously, if stuff was hard for you and you had to work your butt off to get good, great. Congratulations. We are proud of you. You did amazing things, and nothing can take that away from you. Now that you're at that level, it's your responsibility as a big dog to not step on or pee on the little ones, to help the pups behind you grow. Seriously. But what do? We externalize sportsmanship. Go get good somewhere else. We gatekeep, we externalize sportsmanship, and we go into it with this ego that says this new person can in no way be better than me because I've worked really hard. I've been doing this for a long time. Again, grow up. All right, I spent yesterday talking to my kid, and I gotta say, I am elated that my kid is smarter than me, and they are better at doing research, and they are wonderful at making cogent points. I am so proud of my kid because of that, and I know that my mom was proud that I was smarter because she worked hard to make sure that I had those kinds of opportunities for knowledge and education, and I busted my butt trying to make a world where my kid could advance a little bit farther than I could without having to deal with being jumped by white supremacists or being kicked out of places by bad cops or freaking almost starving because people didn't want me inside their eating establishment, but they couldn't say why. Yeah, I worked really hard to become a good gamer. Okay, I worked really hard to learn a lot of the stuff that I've learned. Every single one of us has. Hey, AOS Poro, if I ever find myself being the smartest person in the room, it's probably a good idea for me to find another room. Welcome to Back in the Deck Productions, man. Seriously. So yeah, when it comes to externalizing sportsmanship, it's not about whether or not the game says you can or can't. All right? If you find yourself in a position where you using a corner case causes a genuine feel bad moment, and I don't mean a manipulative one from a bad player, and when I say bad, I mean in behavior, not in skill set. Okay? Or when you see other people doing that to like new players, well, yeah, you did learn this, but I'm pulling out every trick I have in the book in order to take you off the table. Bruh, that is how you keep the community small and make it die. All right? And how do I know? Go ahead, test me. How do I know? I know because I have watched it time and time and time and time again. Okay? Look up Warlord from AEG, or Legends of Five Rings from AEG, or War Machine from Privateer Press, or Battletech from FASA Fan Pro. Why do you think Games Workshop keeps putting out new editions of Warhammer 40K? It's to reset the playing field to zero so new people can come in and not get mollywopped by the people who know every rule on the back of their heads. All right? Yeah. The important part about sportsmanship within our hobbies, and I don't care if your hobby is playing games or even painting, all of our hobbies are things that we do that don't necessarily generate income, but give us a reason to go on other than putting money in other people's pockets. Specifically our bosses at our 540.95. Technically 545 because no one gets paid for stuff. Well, yeah, there is that. They do release them so that you can buy all the new copies of the books. That's a perk for Games Workshop and not for us. But the thing is, most of the stuff that we do as a hobby, we want to do because it brings joy. And sportsmanship is the most important part of playing any game. Okay, any game. And if you don't believe me, understand this. If sportsmanship was not as important as it is, then games would have zero rules. Everyone would just play whatever game they wanted, and the cheaters would always cheat. You know? Always. Because what reason don't they have to cheat? There are no rules. It's the wild, wild west. I'm taking your homestead. You know? So, the realness is the externalization of sportsmanship. The I am being a jerk because no one tells me that I can't. It's our jobs as older players, veteran players, other players, to tell them that that behavior isn't cool. You know, no one likes a feel bad moment, or no one likes experiencing a feel bad moment. But there are people out there, and y'all know the ones, that do their best to cause feel bad moments. You know, because that's how they can stand. I'm finally the one that can rain down the pain that I was given. Brr, brr, brr. Look at me. I'm so clever. I'm so good. You know? But here's the thing. That just turns newer people into punching bags. And it shrinks our community. You know? So, Deckers, my mission statement for you guys is to always keep an eye out for that in other people and in ourselves. And when we see it done, we go up to those players who are given that feel bad moment and be like, nah, dude, it's cool. Or go up to that player that is externalizing their sportsmanship so that they can win and be like, dude, that's not cool. You know, yeah, you brought out your rendition of the deck, of the red-green deck that placed top 3 in last year's international, and you're playing it against a person who just bought their first deck, and it's a pre-constructed deck, and they just bought it from Target, and you just mollywop them for what reason? What do you get out of that? You know? And you'll find that a lot of them are like, I just didn't want to lose to a new player because I'm... And it's like, yeah, again, grow up. Be an adult. Okay? It's cool over here being an adult. You know, to let people in. You know, to guide them up to a place and watch them catch up. And then for one day for them to beat you. It's pretty freaking awesome. You know? And it very rarely will take as long as most people are afraid that it will take. But as long as we stay good sports, then we will very rarely be lonely in our play. Okay? And this is coming from someone who hates solo play. I really hate playing alone. I really do. It triggers me from when I was the smelly fat kid that nobody wanted to spend time around. You know, yeah, I was the smelly fat kid, all right? Who always used big words and nobody wanted to be around. I get it. And it flashes me back to that going, nobody wants to play with me. I guess I'll play alone. Hello, Mr. He-Man. Who's trying to kill you? I don't know, but Skeletor better. No, my God. You know, I don't like when that's my only option. It's one of the things that's slowing me down from posting battle reports, guys. I'm being real about that. Okay? But the thing is, if we internalize our sportsmanship, if we do our best to be the type of player that we like playing against, and being the type of player that not necessarily we like, but we don't mind losing to, that opens up the space for our community, either at your friendly local game store, at your community center, even in your house, because I know a lot of people that have a problem playing with their family members, okay? It opens up people to being willing to play with you. And the better the sport you are, the more people will communicate. AOS Pro. Some of the best games I've had were losses with people I've coached, practiced with while I've been in Age of Sigmar. It's great seeing their... Right? Seriously, when I get served by the people I teach, I'm like, I am so proud of you, I definitely get that, But when we are the types of players that we don't mind losing to, okay? Not only is that seen by more people that may want to play with us, but it's also infectious. Because at the end of the day, even those bad sports don't like being by themselves. Okay? People who internalize sportsmanship, not externalize, not put that out there for somebody else, because over here you stumble with the big dogs. Oh, shut up. The people who aren't like that are the ones that get more people to play. And that right there. Oh, wow. Hang on a sec, Cheerful. I'll talk about your thing real quick. But yeah, the people that the people that are the good sports and are fun to play with and are cool people. Yes, there is a secret meta objective to all games. Encourage those playing with you to have fun. Absolutely, Cheerful Entropy. And by the way, welcome. And thank you very much for leaving that comment. So yeah. Now, how do we externalize that sportsmanship? You're talking all this good stuff, Solar, but how do we do it? I get it. I get you. All right, I get you. I get you 100%. And the answer to your question is simple. Okay? Think about all of those feel bad moments and all of those jerk players that you have come across in your time at the table. I don't care what games you're playing, from Monopoly to Warhammer 40K. All right? From freaking Tiddlywinks to Diplomacy. Think about all those things and ask, what would you have liked for them to do instead? And when you come up with that answer, try that. Okay? The reason I became such a good teacher, at least the methodology I had, was, I thought back to the good teachers that I had, and I do my absolute best to emulate them. Shout out to you, Mr. H. I know you don't watch this show, but seriously, I miss you. You too, Mr. M. And definitely you, Miss M and Miss S and Miss O. All right? But I also look at the teachers that I didn't like. The ones that were condescending. The ones that had already decided that I was trouble or that I wasn't willing to work. And I asked, what did I want from them? I wanted understanding. I wanted them to see what I was having trouble with and address that instead of insulting me by saying, choosing Moby Dick for my book report was a bit over my reading level, And I did my best not to be, I still do my best not to be like those teachers, That is what I try. Foolproof method when it comes to being a good sport. As soon as I get to the table, I ask what kind of music a person likes, and I ask them to pick a song, and I add it to a playlist. 70 songs so far. That's actually pretty cool, AOS Poro. That really is. I don't know where you are, but if we ever find ourselves at a place and I want to learn Age of Sigmar, I may just ask you, because I do love me some music. But yeah, so real talk, because as Cheerful Entropy said, the meta objective to the game behind the game, is to have fun. Sometimes the game may not be that fun, but as Dave Matthews says in one of my favorite songs, it's not where but who you're with that really matters. And if you become the type of player that you want to spend time with, other people will hop on that bandwagon and they'll want to play with and spend time with you too. But what do you guys think? Like, seriously, am I just pie in the sky? Like, do I just sound patchouli stinking and hippie like? Um, because I realize a lot of that might sound like that. But if I do, and like I said, I'll take the smoke. I say if there are people out there that are like, no, I had it hard, so I have to give it hard because that's all I know, or that's what worked for me, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, grow up. All right? Understand that the world you live in now is not the world that you were born into, but it is the world that has become. And if you got any smoke on that, then send an email to backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on Twitter and tell me that I'm full of crap, or Instagram. That's fine, both @backinthedeck. You can also reach me at TikTok @bidp, or join the group Deckers on the Book. All right. I'll be honest with you. That group is the way to talk to me most directly. And of course, if Neon is still here, they will probably put up the Discord link, and I will engage with you, and I'm willing to talk about all this stuff because personally, I think everybody deserves at least a conversation. Okay. But yeah, so that is all the stuff. I want to thank all the new people who are popping on, letting you guys know we have, I've been putting stuff back together, and we're putting a lot of the audio from this stuff onto, thank you, Neon, onto SoundCloud. I'm working on getting it on Spotify as soon as I learn how to do that. And share this stuff. We're trying to get it to where all of your podcasts are out, where you find all of your podcasts. Blah, 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 blah. Just a matter of if I can afford the distributors, because, we're broke down here. By the way, if you find value in all of that stuff, I'm putting the donation and merch and Patreon and all that stuff into the chats. If you're listening to this on SoundCloud or any other podcast place, it's in the description and all that jazz. But thank you for showing up. And if anybody tells you that you don't belong where you are because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, neurospice, divergency, or your budget, because everybody who's ever been to one knows that the trailer park is always walking distance from the hood, you can look at them dead in their eyes and tell them to take whatever card they're pulling on you and put it back in the deck. I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for joining me, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.